Hello, crafty friends. This is Jessica Lewis with Scrap Sprinkle Crop. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm coming to you today to share with you a card that I put together for my brother's birthday. You can see it here on your screen on this side over here. That card was inspired by the Japanese anime character Naruto, and my brother is very much a fan of anime, so I'm going to share with you on how to put this card together. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So this card was made using dies from the January through June 2021 Stampin' Up! Mini Catalog. And this is page 67 of the catalog, and the suit and tie dies are the ones that I used for this project. Here are the dies. This die set has 14 dies. I'm not showing my long stitched rectangle, but I used two different dies from here. The one die is this one right here that's going to act as my zipper pull for the card. And then the long stitch rectangle, which I pulled out, and I'll show you in a minute. So let me set this catalog aside and get started. So here's the card, so you can, I'll set this on this side over here so you can take a look at it at the finished product. But I started off with a piece that is 4 1/4 by 11, and I scored it here in half at 5 1/2, and this is basic gray cardstock. What I went ahead and did ahead of time is I embossed the front because it's going to close, it's going to open and close this way. And so I went ahead and embossed the front with the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. Here's the wrapping of it, but it's a very nice embossing folder, and I like using it for this particular project. It makes it look more like a sweater. And so I'm going to take my embossing folder and burnish this edge here. And then I'm going to take my Tombow glue, and I'm going to take a tiny little bit and just run along the side of the card here on the inside on both edges, like so. And so this is, Tombow does take a little bit of time to adhere or to dry. And you got to make sure that you don't put any Tombow glue here on the top, because this is for our slide in the slider that we put in and inside there. And so while this dries, I'm going to show you, I have 2 strips of pumpkin pie cardstock that I also went ahead and ran through my Tasteful Textile embossing folder. And these are 1 by 4 1/4, and there's 2 of these. So with that, I'm going to take my Tombow glue and I'm going to put some glue on the back, and then take this strip and put it on the bottom right corner of the card front like this. And then the same thing with the other piece. I'm going to put some Tombow glue on the back and then adhere it to the opposite side of the card front like this. Okay, so we've got that adhered. And so for the zipper part that I created, I used a 6 1/2 inch long piece of silver foil, and I went ahead and put my die on here with a little bit of post-it tape. That's what I have. And so I'm going to set this aside just for a minute so I can bring my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine over. Here we go. Okay, so this, like I said, this is a 6 1/2 inch piece long of silver foil, and I'm going to use my embossing machine to cut just to the edge. So right here, this edge right here, I do not want to cut that yet. So I'm going to place my my top plate just shy of that edge because I don't want to cut through it. And run it through my embossing machine, my cutting and embossing machine, and it's not cutting through. I have a hard time with that. I gotta push hard. Well, it doesn't want to go through. Let's see. Maybe it'll do it this time. Okay, there we go. It just takes a minute to grab. Okay. So you see how it went ahead and it did cut to this point, and then after that it didn't cut. So I need to scoot this over a little bit more, and I'm going to slide my die to meet the rest of that paper, and then tie it down here. Okay, and so I actually do not want, yeah, this is what I'll do. I'm going to turn it around, sorry. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I do not want to cut this piece that I already cut and I need. So I'm just going to place my plate right before the edge so it'll cut the rest but not cut my piece of paper that I need. I run it through my embossing machine again. And this just doesn't want to grab for some reason. You know, it's funny how these things tend to work when you're not on a video. It's not grabbing. Jeez Louise. Here, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to have to turn it this way so I can have a little bit more leverage. Let's see. It's not doing it. Gosh, technical difficulties, I tell you. Okay, let's see if I can do it. Well, if you have better luck than I do. Let's see. Why is it so difficult? Let me try this side. There we go. Okay, now we got progress here. I guess it's just the way I was holding my tongue. Okay, so now we have this long strip of silver foil that I used for my die. And so let me set this aside. So now I'm going to take this long strip of silver foil and I'm going to use my paper trimmer, straight piece of orange cardstock. I'm going to use my paper trimmer and cut it in half. So I just kind of going to gauge where I'm placing this using, you know, these lines as my guide and make sure I place it there in the center. Slowly put that down and cut it in half. Okay, there you go. So now you have this cut in half, and what originally was this way, like this, now after I flipped it over, it makes the zipper. And that's what I was going for. Okay, so I'm going to bring my card front back here, and I'm going to use a little bit of my Tombow glue and put some adhesive right along the back of this. And I'm not going to put glue at the very top because that's going to be hanging out for my collar. So this is going to be about here. I'm just kind of eyeballing where my center of my card would be. Let's like that. And then the other side, put a little bit of Tombow glue. There you go. Not putting it, and I'm not putting glue all the way to the edge. I'm going to let it hang out a little bit. Oh, geez. Yeah, I did it the opposite way. So, you know what I mean. So what I did is I tried to put these pieces as close together as possible so that it looks like the zipper is opening up like that. And so let me add a little bit more Tombow glue, just a tiny bit right here where I missed it. And there you go. Okay, so another piece that I already went ahead and cut out is what I said initially. I used the die to cut this piece out. It's going to act as my zipper pull. So I need just a dimensional, and I'm going to place it back here and place it on my kind of where the opening of the zipper looks like it's starting to separate. And so I'm going to place it about here. This looks good, like that. Okay, so now to kind of finish off the card, I need to do my sentiment for the front, and I cut this out from black cardstock and embossed it with white embossing powder using the Many Messages bundle. Let me show you what that looks like. This is the the Messages dies, and there's a coordinating stamp set where it cuts out all the sentiments in one cut. And so what I did is I took a large black piece of cardstock, stamped it with my Versamark ink, poured embossing powder over it, and heat embossed it. And now I have a bunch of sentiments that I can use for other cards. In this case, I'm using this one that says, "Hooray, it's your birthday." So I really like that sentiment. So now I'm going to take a piece of twine. Actually, this is metallic thread, and it is retired. You know, I've had this and I really love using it. So this metallic thread did retire, just retired from the previous annual catalog, and so you can always use something else if you choose. But for this project, I chose to do this metallic thread. So this piece is about 30 inches long, and I'm going to wrap it around my fingers like this. I'm going to use my 3 fingers and wrap it around all the way until that thread runs out like this. Okay, so you can see, it's hard to see, but I have like loose ends here. And so I'm going to kind of tuck them in if it'll cooperate with me. I'll tuck them in a little bit. This is a little bit tricky to play with, but I'm going to set it here on this card, and then hold it while holding it with one finger. I'm going to take a dimensional and place it here. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the purpose of this kind of twine. It just kind of goes all over the place. But there you go, something like this. And all I do is take my sentiment and place it over here, like so. Okay, you can adjust it however you want. That that thread does go does get a little wonky, but like I said, that's the point, right? That's the point, to make it look wonky. Okay, so that's the front of the card. So let's go ahead and do the inside. I'll set this over here. And for the inside of the card, in order to make the neck of the of the zipper and the sweater, I went ahead and I took a basic gray piece of cardstock that measures 3 5/8 by 6 1/2. And what I did do is I went ahead and marked ahead of time, and I marked from the left edge 3/4 inches in, from the right edge 3/4 inches in, and then from the top edge 1 inch. And so that kind of creates my neck for the inside. So I'm just going to trim this little section off. Like I said, it's 3/4 inches in and 1 inch from the top, like this. And just trim those pieces like that. Let's trim it a little bit more. There you go. Set that aside. And so there you have it. So for this little top edge here, I did want to emboss it with my embossing machine, just to kind of coordinate with that sweater. So let me bring back my die cutting machine. I'm going to go ahead and emboss that right here. Okay. And here is the Tasteful Textile embossing folder. I'm going to use this to, I'm only going to emboss the neck of the card, just like that. Gotta hold it there. Place it down on my machine, and then use this plate to go ahead and emboss. All right, there you have it. And so you can see that it's only embossed the top part. Okay, so just to let you know, I went ahead and used my paper snips, and I hand cut these corners to kind of round the edge. I can't do it with my punch because this piece right here is in the way, so I kind of just play with it to get it rounded off to the way I would like it. And so, you know, just play with it and see how you would like it to look. I'm gonna trim off a little bit more here, like this, and that looks okay, not too bad. And so this piece is a basic white piece of cardstock that's cut to 3 1/2 by 5 1/4 inches, and I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal to put some adhesive here on the back and adhere it to the card like this. It's got to be perfect, right? Perfectly laid out. And then I have this image that I searched on the computer on the internet for a Naruto character, and I feel like this was a good fit. I just simply printed it out on my printer with plain printer paper. This is a wallet size print, and so I fussy cut that out all around the edges, and all I have to do is just take it and adhere it with I use a little bit of Tombow glue just to kind of get on the edges where my Stampin' Seal wouldn't be able to reach. And then I'll place it right about here on the card, like that. And then I also, like I said earlier, I have a bunch of sentiments now, and so this was a good sentiment to have for the inside of the card. So I'll go ahead and use my Tombow glue to adhere that next to my Naruto character, like that. Okay, there you have it. That's the inside of the card. Now you can write your sentiment however you'd like and insert it into the slot for your card front, and you are good to go. there you have it. It's pretty simple, really. It doesn't take a lot of time to produce, so you can make a lot of good masculine cards for this. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or reach out to me to ask me any questions. I'll go ahead and include a little tutorial to I'll link it in this video, and that way you'll be able to get all the supplies and everything that you need to make this card. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, bye bye.